I would like to address briefly the question of the definition of long-term investing. We're going to be talking about long-term investing, but by the way, what do we mean by long-term investing? And I'd like to point out very simply two possible definitions of the words long-terms on the one hand and investing on the other hand. The two main definitions I found looking at long-term as applied to long-term investing is, for the first definition, the one given by the World Economic Forum a few years ago, which I'm quoting, defined long-term investing as investing with the expectation of holding an asset for a very long period of time by an investor with the capability to do so. This is a very interesting definition, and that, in my view, has far-reaching consequences. So that's one possible definition of long-term. The other definition is really to define long-term as merely the succession of short-term periods. This is clearly different, and maybe I will get some pushback on what I'm going to say now, but I think this is the prevailing definition in today's financial markets. We most of the time see long-terms as a succession of short-term periods, and that has implications. Just opening the discussion here. Second definition that we have to reflect upon or not forget when we'll be discussing today is investing. By the way, what do we mean by investing? It may sound like a silly question, but it may not be as obvious as it sounds. It seems to me there are two possible definitions to investing. One is really bringing capital to productive use with the objective of creating a partnership between the investor and the underlying economic project. That's one definition of investing. The other possible definition of investing is choosing an asset with a unique view of deriving profitability or other benefits like diversification, regardless of whether the capital is brought to productive use or not. And clearly, if you've been following what Finance Watch does, writes, and sort of thinks, you will easily guess, including from our motto, investing, not betting, what our favorite definitions are. But obviously, different opinions are always possible, different positions are possible, and I just wanted to highlight those definitions in order to make sure we know what we're discussing when we'll be discussing long-term investing today. Seems to me, Professor Kay, correct me in your speech if I'm wrong or if I was wrong, that one of your dominant views is that it is better to regulate structure than behavior. Reading what you've been writing, you seem to recognize that regulation is more likely to succeed if it works with human nature and not against it. In practice, this means don't try to stop people from responding to incentives, but put the right incentives in place. It seems to me that this type of thinking should resonate with many of us here in Brussels and more generally in the European Union. And I feel that this is something we should really discuss today. I will stop here for now, as I don't want to preempt the coming debate. But I would like us, all of us, people attending, panelists, speakers, to bear in mind the two objectives for the day, which are, one, to contribute in a meaningful way to the thinking behind the question of bringing capital to long-term investment. What do we mean precisely? So we'll try to be creative and concrete. And the other thing is, as I just said, be concrete and realistic to come up with ideas that can be implemented in the European Union, taking into account the specificities of the European Union, including the fact that we are 27 member states with different legal and taxation systems, which, everything else being equal, makes sometimes things more difficult, but it's a fact of life. That's the reality we have to live with. So, how do we take the right fundamental ideas and convert them into realistic and implementable solutions here in the European Union? I hope we can achieve this objective today, and we can all walk away tonight thinking it was well worth it. Thank you very much. Professor Kay, the floor is yours.